Welcome to Michael Potts F1, everything Formula One, but from a photographer's point of view. Round 5, Miami. As you can see, I've swapped the beaches of Miami to the forests of Vermont, where I've come to get a bit of relaxation after what was possibly the busiest Formula One weekend I've ever experienced. Everything was full on right from the start of the race weekend on Thursday. This was Formula One's second visit to Miami, and already so much has changed. For a start, there was a brand new Formula One village. This is in the middle of the Miami Dolphins Stadium, right on the pitch. It's a great place for the teams to entertain their guests, as well as for fans to sit in the stands and watch what happens inside the paddock, which is something that you don't normally get to see. Our media centre from last year had been taken over by the Paddock Club, which is now a vast 3-storey, ultra-luxurious space, which includes a roof terrace overlooking the pits, and they've really gone all out to make this quite a remarkable experience. The media centre is now in a completely different part of the stadium, and I got to work the whole weekend from one of the corporate boxes overlooking the Formula One village, alongside Kim Illman and his son Jace, which was an absolute hoot. Even the celebrities arrived on Thursday, which is quite unusual for Formula One. We had Michelle Rodriguez and Vin Diesel, who are starring in the new Fast and Furious movie. There was A$AP Rocky, who's absolutely brilliant to photograph. Over the course of the race weekend, we had Jeff Bezos and Laura Sanchez. Kabi Alam, again, who is an absolute delight to photograph. Tom Cruise and Shakira. I'm pretty sure I saw them getting into the same car at the end of the race. Both Williams sisters, and I didn't realise how tall Venus is. Roger Federer was also there, adding to the list of tennis royalty. And we had the marvellous Universal boss, Chris Gale, attending, Tommy Hilfiger and his partner Dia Kleppo, and will.i.am was there to conduct the driver's ceremony. From what I've heard, that driver's ceremony was massively controversial. I didn't actually get to see it. I was on the grid, but I was on the other side of the stage, and the way that they placed the stage meant that anyone that was standing near the cars couldn't see what was going on. So if you did see it, please do let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Did you like it? Would you like to see it at other races? Or is it something Formula One should never do again? The drivers were all fully embracing the Miami vibe, and for once it wasn't just Lewis Hamilton giving us a fashion show. So cue the montage and let's see what the drivers wore. It wasn't just the drivers. Callum, who's one of Max Verstappen's mechanics, was also getting in on the act. Even yours truly wore a Miami-inspired shirt. Haas went full out for their home race, and the drivers were wearing a special Miami-inspired race suit, complete with this quite cool detailing on the shoes, and Nico Hülkenberg had a customized helmet for the Grand Prix. There were newly designed helmets for Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, and the Red Bull was running an entirely new livery. This livery was developed by a fan, and it's something Red Bull is doing for all of the American races. So if you would like to see your design on a Red Bull car in either Austin or Las Vegas, go over to the Red Bull website where they have all of the details. It's a fabulous competition. This design is particularly good. I absolutely loved photographing the car looking like this. It's got a bit of Miami, it's got a bit of Red Bull, and it just looks stunning. For free practice 1, I was photographing from the pits, and a bit of an unusual thing happened. Early in the session, George Russell came in for a pit stop, and he jumped out of his car, and his mechanic started working feverishly trying to get some fault fixed. And I don't ever remember seeing so many mechanics working so hard on the car at the same time. Anyway, whatever they did, it was brilliant because George managed to go and absolutely ace free practice 1. In free practice 2, I was photographing from the marina section. Here I got some great shots of the cars coming towards me, as well as some panning shots of the cars going past the marina section. Just as I was repositioning, Charles came round the corner and I saw his car getting a bit sort of squiggly. He lost control and crashed in the barrier right in front of me. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time or a good enough angle to be able to get a shot of the crash. But I did manage to catch him as he climbed out of the vehicle and walked away from the crash, climbing onto a scooter and driving away. It was quite an unusual one. It was just for a split second that he lost control, and the next moment the car was in a barrier. Unfortunately, this happened to him again in qualifying. My favourite shot of free practice 3 was this one of Lewis Hamilton with his 3 wheels off the ground. This is at the chicane section, which is quite a difficult section for the drivers because they're coming at this at quite high speed and the apex of the corner is hidden. So it's very difficult for them to nail it, and it's an important section to get exactly right because just after this is the long straight, and you need to have a perfect entry into that to make sure you don't lose any speed on a vital section of the track. Qualifying was very dramatic, with a lot of big names being knocked out early in the session. For Q1, I was stood on the inside of turn 1. There's a very big grandstand here which has epic views of the cars. For Q2, I was positioned a little bit closer to the pit exit, and I got this shot of Sergio Perez leaving the pits. For the start of the final qualifying session, I got this really nice spot at the end of the pit lane. Here I can see the drivers that didn't make it into FP3 walking towards the weighbridge, but I also got this really nice shot of the cars leaving the pits as they embark on the final shootout. If you look at this photograph of Charles Leclerc, you can see him removing a tear-off strip off his visor and then throwing it away. I find this quite remarkable because he's just come from the pits, so you would think that he would have had a clean visor at that point, and he'd more likely make use of this while out on the track at some point. I actually spent a little bit too much time at this spot, and there was no way that I was going to make it to the other side of the pits in time for the podium celebration. Unfortunately, Charles crashed, causing a red flag. This gave me a little bit of time, and I was able to capture this very smiling picture of Checo Perez celebrating a surprise pole position. The big shock was Max ending up in 9th place, even though his Q2 time would have been good enough for pole position had it counted. At the start of the race, there was quite a lot of drama when Nick de Vries broke too late and punted Lando Norris. Luckily, both cars were able to continue. There was a brilliant battle between Carlos and Magnussen, and then Max all of a sudden powered past both of them in quite an audacious overtaking move. Max scythed his way through the field, and when Checo stopped for fresh tyres, Max was in the lead of the race, from 9th place. It was quite remarkable. I knew that later in the race, Max was going to have to stop for tyres as well, and this would probably bring both Red Bull cars together on the track. So I headed down to the hairpin at the last corner, hoping to get some Red Bull action. I got this shot of Max trying to overtake Checo. Checo managed to position his car brilliantly to prevent him, but there were shades of Baku 2018 with the two Red Bulls coming down the straight. At this point in the race, Checo's tyres were quite old, and he didn't really stand much chance. Max was able to breeze past him on the start-finish straight. Fernando Alonso was outstanding, taking his 3rd, 4th place in just 5 races, but his race was largely uneventful. At one point, he comes over the radio and congratulates his teammate Lance Stroll on an excellent overtake. Clearly, his race was so uneventful that he was spending his time watching what was happening elsewhere on the big screens. The podium in Miami is unique in Formula One. The drivers stop in the pit side of the stadium. Here they get out of their cars and celebrate with their teammates. But then we have to rush to the other side of the stadium for the podium celebration. And it really is quite a mission to get from one side to the other in time to see the champagne being sprayed. Thank you so much for watching this look back at the Miami Grand Prix. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't yet, please do like and subscribe. Next race is going to be from Imola in Italy. It should be quite an exciting one because a lot of teams are going to bring upgrades, including Mercedes and Ferrari. Hopefully these will be enough to allow those teams to compete more evenly with Red Bull. But until the next one, goodbye.